So this yoga session is to help boost the immune system, which is really important. And there are several poses which really help to boost the immune system. The Sphinx, the Revolve Chair, any standing back bends are really good because of the work they do back here. The Eagle Pose, chatarangasana, Triangle, asana, Happy Baby, Locust Pose, again it's a back bend. There's a low lunge you can do, which we'll do in this session. Mountain pose, because it centers and brings everything, very strongly into grounded equilibrium. And the four-limb staff pose, which is a little bit energetic. So basically, it helps to think about anything that's a back bend and anything that actually works into this area, back and this area. And that's where we'll get the immune system sort of triggered some more. So let's start by just checking in. So do go to your mat and lie down in Shavasana. Lovely. So beginning to relax, and I recommend making yourself as comfortable as possible. So if you have something nice and soft underneath you, that's always to the good. And if it's cold where you are, I would put a blanket over you. And then if you have glasses on, taking them off. And for Shavasana, you have two options. You can rest with the knees bent and the feet slightly apart. And that's really useful if your lower back hurts. Or you can take the legs out and about 2 to 3 feet apart. And then move the shoulders down away from the head and the shoulder blades down towards your waist. Wriggle and jiggle a bit so that your shoulder blades are a bit wide. And then your hands are out at the side comfortably. Just reach away from the shoulders for a moment. And then the backs of the hands on the floor. And then I tend to just scan around the face. Where is my face holding tension? Is it the brow? Is it the jaw? Is it around the eyes? And I imagine the face melting. And I think some of you have heard me say this too many times, but I really recommend doing more Shavasana, more corpse pose, because the body tends to lie in bed a little bit tense on your side, your front, your other side, and the shoulders can be tense and the hands and arms can be tense. Whereas this pose, you can actually really relax and let go. And if the back begins to ache, of course, you adapt it and bend the knees. So let's do the initial check-in. How are we doing in this moment? How is the mind doing? What are we pondering about? What sort of thoughts are coming through the mind? And see if you can label them. The thoughts that were going through my mind were, are my lighting devices switched on and angled in the right direction? That's what it started mulling over. So see what it was mulling over for you. And let's try and approach it with kind of humour, a tenderness. The mind loves to think about things and keep busy. So let's see if we can just step back a little and treat it kindly. Hey, I see what you're thinking about. And then maybe bringing it back into the now and reminding it, here we are, this absolutely blessed moment, our yoga time, our time for us. And see if the mind can turn its attention to being here. And then let's notice how we're feeling emotionally. And it's quite common to do this a little trepidatiously because we're not really sure what we're going to find. But again, let's try and approach the emotions with a little bit of sort of warm humour and kindness, tenderness. How am I feeling? What's going on for me? Do I need a little bit more loving and caring and gentleness for myself? And how could I do that? And then let's check in at the level of the body. Hello, body. How are you doing, body? Where are those aches and pains? Where are the niggly bits? And again, no criticism or much judgment. Awareness, tenderness. Very positive, warm awareness. And remembering to take good care of those parts of the body that are a little bit wonky or need protecting at the moment. And also remember, you can always lie down and not do a pose or have a rest. The most important thing is learning to listen to your own body and know what it needs. So we're already beginning to settle and come into the present moment. And let's take our awareness to the body being breathed. Notice the length of the breath and where the body is moving as you breathe. If you can notice the impulse to breathe, because it's automatic. As a change, you'll breathe out, you pause, and then something happens to make you breathe in. See if we can be aware of that feeling, just before we breathe in. And if the mind goes off and wanders as it likes to do, with a bit of humour, gently encourage it to come back and see if it can rest on the awareness of the in-breath, pause, and the out-breath. And sometimes it may feel too difficult to do that. Sometimes you may want to do immediate yoga poses because the mind feels all over the place. And there's too much of a struggle to bring it to the breath. So do that. Eventually your whole system will know you're really caringly listening to what you really need. And the longer we stay aware of the breath, the more the system quietens down. Very calming, very centering, soothing. And then let's expand the awareness, breath, body, emotions, and mind all together. This is how I am in this moment. And I may already feel a little bit more present here on this mat, in this room, this moment in my life. And in this moment in our life, there is more right with us than wrong with us. And hallelujah, we're still breathing. So let's give some lovely tender care to the body. Let's bring the feet to a little bit closer and the legs to parallel. Let's breathe in and take the arms up above the head and behind, palms of the hands facing the ceiling. See how your shoulders feel. Maybe one feels a bit stiff doing that. And bring the toes towards you so you open out the Achilles tendon. And see if you can open out the armpits. Okay, so it's almost like the shoulders are melting, like the shoulders are melting into the ground. Pulling the toes towards you, stretching the backs of the legs. Okay, and then pushing the toes away from you, stretching down the shin. You may get cramp a little in your feet, so pull back if you're stretching too much. Okay, and then stretching the toes, now stretch the fingers away. So you'll probably feel the shoulder blades slightly lift and move towards your hands. And your belly will become probably slightly concave. The organs massaged as you stretch and kind of elongate them, at least elongate the space they're allowed to be in. Let's just stay there for a moment because this pose is often underrated, but it's so good for those internal organs. And if you can keep the chin more towards the chest, we've got the spinal column in a nice, comfortable, natural position. So internal organs, belly area, spinal column, all to the good. And beginning, as more as you, the more you push the hands away, the more you're kind of opening the discs of the spine a bit. Providing a bit more space, the ability to absorb what they need a bit more. Okay, and then toes towards you again. And breathing in, allow the hands to go up to the ceiling, but the palms are now facing each other. So you've got the toes coming towards you, the hands going upwards. So take the hands more upwards and you'll find your shoulders coming off the ground. And be careful in doing this because it can make you tense around the shoulder. So just check that you're not tensing up your neck too much. Lovely. And then I'd like you to bring your right knee up to the chest and take those hands down to the right knee and pull in and rotate the right ankle. And as you do this, relaxing the shoulders down to the ground. So with women, making very sure that your arms are going the outside of the chest comfortably and not compressing the chest if you can help it. And you're rotating the ankle one way and the other way, really getting that ankle joint nicely lubricated, and some of the foot too is moving nicely. You can curl the toes and open the toes as you do this. Just check that you're not tense too much in the arms and shoulders. In fact, just let the shoulders drop for a minute. And go again. Okay, and drop that foot back down. If you could straighten it out if you want to. Let's bring the left knee up, pulling in, pressure against that descending column. And let's turn the left foot one way and the other way. So you can either just keep doing rotations clockwise for a while, and then the other way for a while, or you can do one circle clockwise, one circle anti-clockwise, and keep repeating. Whichever feels to you as though you're doing best joint manipulation into that ankle. And maybe scrunch up the toes and open them as well. And you'll probably feel, if you're holding onto the knee, that actually there's movement going into the knee joint as well, not just the ankle. Lovely. And then bring the right knee back to join in and pull both those knees and thighs in towards the belly. Okay, so the tailbone will lift up off the floor. Let's bring the chin into the chest, because I bet it's trying to slowly go to pointing to the ceiling. So chin into chest, but although the hands are pulling in tight, let's just let the hands do it and see if we can let the upper arms melt downwards. So there's no strain there. But still pressure coming into the belly. So this is a good wind reliever. So for those who are on the live class, you're on mute, you're okay. And then I'd like you to hold same hand to same knee and do the circles. So as you know, this is really good for the lower back, really good for relieving pressure, wind pressure, air pressure in the abdominal area, encouraging the digestive system to actually go through its clockwise churning. And so we do clockwise for a while, and then we do anti-clockwise for a while, just to allow the small intestines a bit more massage and pressure. And you're probably noticing how meditative this is, this whole sequence. Not only is it good for the spine and the belly area, it's also very soothing, very calming. And then, not quite so quiet and calming, we do the pistons with the legs. So the heels are just 1 or 2 inches above the floor. The hands wherever you feel comfortable. Some people like to clasp them underneath the head, relax the shoulders if you do that. And then the feet just come backwards and forwards strongly, away, and knees strongly towards. So we're engaging those abdominal muscles and some leg muscles. And we're beginning to get some lubrication into the knees and the hip joint without weight going through them. And keep breathing. Tendency to hold the breath with this one. And hopefully we'll still be doing this when we're kind of 99. Especially if we do it every day. Okay, and then put the feet on the floor, knees bent, and I'm going to roll over, come up and start working on this more specific immune system work. So I'd roll over onto one side and come up. Moment I'm just in kneeling. So I could go into a lot of detail about the immune system, but actually I just want to get onto the poses today. I can always do a talk about the immune system on a separate video. So Today, I just want to start opening up here. So you can be sitting on a chair, sitting on the floor, kneeling, sitting with your legs straight in front of you. I really don't mind. I just want to get the sides opened up before we do any strong standing side work. So if you could lift up your right hand and place your left hand on the floor. Okay, well, I think I'm doing the opposite. Lift up your right hand and place your left hand on the floor. And then go over with your left hand slipping away a bit. So we want a nice open stretch on that right hand side. So this is where the ascending colon, right kidney here, they're opening up nicely. Okay, and we lean over and just let them open up beautifully. Okay, you can even try, but do it gently, going down onto the forearm. But technically, we're meant to keep an even seat. And that has definitely made my right sitting bone lift off the floor. But anyway, it's a good long stretch. Could even try and come down to my hand a little bit. Okay, feel the stretch, and try and feel the stretch too in here, in the armpit area, because the immune system also working and opening and revitalizing the lymphatic system. There's a lot of quite subtle stuff going on. Okay, breathing in, take that arm up and use your left hand to push back up. Place the hands on the thighs, pause, close the eyes, breathe. And before we do the other side, I just want to do some shoulder work. So let the shoulder work, the rolls backwards and forwards, always good. Okay, and then one and the other. Okay, and both, but let it be a hop, okay, because I don't want this action tensing us too much. So hop and a drop, hop and a drop. And that is really good for loosening when there's tension around the neck and shoulders. So you just hop up, drop. Lovely. Let's do the other side now. So this time it's going to be a right hand on the floor, the left hand up, and over we go. We're sliding away a bit, trying to keep even seat, trying to keep even seat. And then stretching so much, you might be able to, more or less, hold on to your fingers. But what I don't want you to do is collapse the arm forward to do that over the face. I really want a nice line from your left hip all the way through to your left elbow is in a line and not coming forward. Okay, and breathing into that. And remember, what's really good to do in poses is to just be. Okay, there's no need to rush. There's no need to, okay, we've done that. Let's do the next thing. Just let this pose work on us. We can kind of get out of the way for a moment. Let it work on the internal organs and the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, the lymphatic system, the nervous system. Let it do its thing. Lovely. And then breathing in, take that left hand up, straight up. Push with the right hand. Slowly, 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 especially if you know your back is a little bit wonderful. And then pause for a moment, okay? Bring the hands up to Namaste. And just center for a moment. Close the eyes. Think of these shoulder blades coming back a little as you do this Namaste posture. Lovely. And then breathing out, releasing the hands down. So mostly I tend to do standing poses to seated poses to lying down poses, front to back, standing and then side poses. And somewhere in there, there'll be a twist. But with this immune system, I'm just taking it very gently on these back areas. So I think first of all, let's do the Sphinx. So we get that work here. Okay, so lying down on the floor, but with our hands coming forward. Okay, so our legs are parallel and the elbows technically are under the shoulders And the really tricky thing is getting these forearms parallel, because people have forearms doing all sorts of things, just trying to get them parallel and those middle fingers parallel. And then the next thing that's tricky is here, this area, upper chest area, sternum area. We're trying to get it quite high up. Okay, so we want this to be perpendicular upwards. And we want the throat to be quite open, but we don't at this moment want the chin going up. We just want the chin resting and the face facing forward. And then when we've got that, sort that out, drop those shoulders. Sternum forward again, drop the shoulders. And then press with the pelvic area into the ground. Okay, so we're engaging here back into the kidneys back there, the front, right across the transverse colon and the small intestine. We're doing some pressure work on the spleen on the left-hand side. Nice work into the stomach, liver. And a bit of opening of the bottom part of the lungs. So push, push, push with the pelvis. And at the same time, you know, we've got all this back work going on as well, which is good. Closing the sacroiliac joints. Compressing the discs in the lower and mid back. And opening them at the front. So again, not one to be rushed through. And the Sphinx again is very, very soothing. Lovely. And then lowering down a bit, I always like to have a little rest after the Sphinx. So I would recommend to rest after the Sphinx, going into the crocodile makrasana. So the legs go wide, okay, and then the insides of the feet, can you see, go onto the floor, okay, and then you put the fingers onto the shoulders and you rest down in that lovely crocodile. And it's sometimes difficult for women if you've got a generous chest, which sometimes a little bit uncomfortable, so see if you can adjust a bit and make it more comfortable. Quite nice to do it on a bed because the bed can give up and give you more space. So we close the eyes and we rest in the crocodile. So that puts the back into neutral. And those sacroiliac joints in the pelvis, just letting them sort themselves out. And you've got that nice open area in the throat, the thyroid and parathyroid. Nice stretch there. Again, letting it happen. And then we're going to go into the locust pose from here. So bring the feet back to parallel. Okay, tops of the feet on the ground. Now bring the hands down onto the floor. And if you want, you can just sort of look at me and see before you do the pose. The locust, the wings of the locust, they spread back and the palms are downwards, okay? Shoulders are not near the ears, so you push the shoulders and shoulder blades to the waist. And then you lift the legs up, so you might see my heels going up at the back, straight as possible. Okay. And then lift the head a bit more. Oh, you will feel where we're putting deep massage pressure into that kidney area. And front, small intestine, fantastic. Breathing into it. So if that feels really too hard, you can have a rest and come up again. But if you're happy staying there a bit and can just increase and increase a little, do. But when you think, oh no, enough, come down and just rest with one hand on top of the other, one cheek resting on those hands, and pausing and pretending you've got several hours to rest. Nothing to do. Okay, and then we'll go up again. So coming up, arms back, feet up, palms downwards, shoulders down towards the waist, lifting the head up, opening the throat. Breathe, remember to breathe. Okay, Bill, could you mute yourself, please? Thanks. Okay, and then bringing the hands forward, pausing, one hand on top of the other, but the other hand is now underneath. And then rest on your other cheek. Pause and do nothing. So, be interesting for you to note, does it feel more strenuous doing the lying down back bends, the kneeling or seated back bends, or the standing back bends? And then coming up, okay, gently coming up to upright kneeling. Now remember, if you've got sore knees or dodgy knees, do use some kneeling pads if you have them. Always useful. Okay, so comfortably in upright kneeling. And just pausing there, letting the shoulders really relax downwards. Okay, so we're now going to do a back arch from this position. So place the hands into the lower back and just push. Okay, and then breathing in, look up. And so you're pushing the pelvis forward whilst trying to look behind you. And try and keep this sort of belly area quite strong. Okay, and when you've had enough, breathing out, coming forward, breathing in, coming up with the hands. Okay, pausing and just taking the head left to right. Dropping the shoulders, like being an owl. Okay, good. And then I want to do a counter pose for those back arches, but we're going to do the one that's really good for the immune system, which is the happy baby. And it's lying on your back, grabbing hold of your toes and just kind of playing around. So you can do this kind of work as though you were a baby playing on the carpet. Okay, and the knees coming into the armpits for a moment. So stuffed turkey. Pausing, breathing into that. And then taking the legs up with a slight bend in them, like so. And then the arms up with a slight bend in them. So that's a good relaxed happy baby and a good counter pose. And the chin comes to the chest. So pause there for a moment, letting everything drain down the limbs and a nice open back of the neck at the same time. Nice and relaxed. And then to finish that, just straighten the legs a bit and straighten the arms a bit. Okay, and lift the heels and the fingertips to the ceiling, right the way through. So you're lifting out of your hip joints and you're lifting out of your shoulder joint. And then you pedal the feet a bit. So toes towards you, toes away. While we're still continuing to let the limbs drain downwards. Lovely. And then cross the ankles. So if you can reach through, round your knees to the big toes. And let's do roll in along your mat. Coming up to cross-legged, and then coming up to standing. And we're just going to go into the mountain because it's a lovely pose, interim pose, relaxing pose. So standing from the mountain, could we separate the feet apart and the middle fingers together? And then I just want you to tilt from side to side, a bit like the sea or water sloshing from one side to the other in a container. Okay, so it's beginning to open up the sides. At the same time, our fingers are at about the heart level. Lovely. And then a bit more. And then coming into the position ready for the triangle. So separating the feet wide apart. Okay, about your leg length apart. Turning your right foot away from you. So we'll have 12 o'clock in there. We'll bring the back toes in to maybe 10 o'clock. Okay, and then just to get this pelvis right, let's bend that front knee and check that it's going over the second toe. It's not traveling this way and it's not traveling behind you. It's not going to compromise that hinge joint. Okay, so have your hands on your hips. Then straighten that front leg, but keep the hips exactly where they were. Don't straighten out the back against the wall, okay? Because that will seriously compromise this knee joint. Then the arms go up, extend out of the arms if you can. Check the knee joint again. Yep. Lift up, ribcage up, and over, going down. So the left hand goes up to the heavens and you look up. Breathing, breathing, breathing. And if you want, taking that arm right over, long extension. Mudita Trikona Asana, the extended triangle. So moving down towards the ankle. Don't worry if you can't get that far. You can use a block or you can rest on your knee. It's not competitive. But just opening that wonderful stretch all the way along this left side. Nice and long. And breathing into it. Okay, to come out of it, bend the front knee, place the right elbow on the knee, and gently, gently push to come up. Turn the feet to the front. And then let's do the other side. So let's turn the left foot away, pointing at 12 o'clock. And the back toes in, pointing 2 o'clock. Okay, got to check this knee joint. So let's bend the knee so that we can see the second toe. Okay, and then hands on the hips as we do that. Straighten that front knee, keep the hips there. Bring the arms up, drop the shoulders. Now lift on the in-breath, lifting up the pelvis and over we go. So we're lifting up, sorry, it wasn't the pelvis, it was lifting up the rib cage and over we go. So you get the really wide gap between pelvis and rib cage and the hands stretching and reaching for the ceiling and breathing into that. Looking up if you can. Okay, and if you want to, going into Utthita Trikonasana. And that lovely stretch here along that right side of the body. And again, use blocks for your left hand or rest on your knee if you like, but don't struggle into a pose too strong for you. Relaxing in the pose, making it work for you. Breathing in, coming up, looking to the ceiling. Bend the knee and push, come up and turn the feet towards you. Breathe out, let the hands come down and then walk the feet towards each other. Okay, so you've got the feet directly underneath the hip joint, resting in mountain pose. Close the eyes. A moment, nothing to do. Okay, then breathing in, take the arms all the way up to the heavens and breathing out, coming down. Pausing, breathing in, palms upwards. And breathing out, down. So breathing in, could you bring your right knee up, stretch up and then rotate the right ankle. And then rotate the opposite way. So we're doing a balanced pose. Lovely, the opposite way. And then release down back into the mountain, nice and steady. And then breathing in, the other side coming up, rotate the ankle. Lovely, and the other way. And then down. And then just separate the feet a little bit apart, not too far. And I just want you to swing from side to side. That's lovely, just swinging left and right and left and right. So you've got this nice wave action going, and you can take the hands with you. Kind of a bit Hawaiian. But I just want that joint to start lubricating a bit more. Should feel rather nice from side to side. Okay, lovely. And then coming into for the next bit, I would quite like it if we could do the eagle pose. And the eagle can be a bit tricky. So what I'd like you to do is just pause for a moment, stand, shoulders back. Lovely. And then think about an eagle. So an eagle doesn't really think too much about flying and wind motion. It's all very, very instinctive. And there's not a lot of thinking going on, I don't think. They're just doing it, following the wind, standing, landing, setting off. And equally, we want to be that embodied, aware of our body, aware of the movements as we go into the pose. And yes, the eagle is a little bit tricky, but if we think of it as being very tricky, we're going to block the ability to get into it. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to nicely look down at your right foot, stand on your right foot and bring your left foot. We're going to swing it round, kind of behind that right calf. Okay, and then the knee, which is my left knee, which is up, I'd like you to bring your left hand up and swing your right hand round, like so. So you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, but it is a difficult pose. If you can only do that, sort of cross-legged with the legs, and you can only sort of do vaguely that, that's good. I'm happy with that. The knees are slightly bent as though you're slightly sitting. If you're feeling very steady, you bring the elbows down to the knees. Okay. And pull that pose. So it's a lot of work on the ankle joint, the right ankle joint. And then whenever you feel unsteady, come out of it as gracefully as you can and stand back in the mountain and pause, breathing into it. And the good news is we've done it on that side. Bad news is we've still got it to go, but hey, steady out in the mountain. And actually, I recommend having a wall for support during Gurudasana, because with all the props that we use, we're actually aiming to get into best pose for us. So if a wall helps us do best pose, go for it, okay? So this time it's going to be weight through the left foot, and the right foot swings round and tries to hook around the calf, okay? And interestingly, the pelvis is still meant to be facing the front foot, slightly sitting down. And then we look down, we've got the right knee on top, so the right hand goes up. The left hand swings round and tries to go palm to palm. It's tricky, it's not easy. And then you can stay there. If I'm against the wall, I'm happy staying here. I've got most of my back from my pelvis up to my shoulders, flat against the wall. Or you can try coming down a little. Even to halfway to there would be good. Breathing into it. So that you've got the support. You might feel that push of support, the wall against your pelvic area. And breathing into that. Again, if you feel wobbly, try to come out as gracefully as possible. But seeing if you can hold the pose. Even if you just had the hands out and you were doing the leg pose, that would be the flying eagle. I'd be very happy with that. Okay. We don't do this pose very often because a lot of people find it hard work. Breathing out, taking the leg forward, spreading the legs wide for a moment, and taking the feet out. 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock's the front. And that way you can swing the knees over the feet from side to side to just ease out of that pose. There's a lot of work going on through those legs. And we're swinging from side to side. Good. And then I'd like you to go even wider, and we're just doing a gentle forward bend with a twist. And it just suits and complements the work we've been doing. So we're not going to stay down too long, but I'd like you to breathe in with the feet probably as wide as you can take them. But make sure you're on your sticky mat so you don't slip into the splits by accident. Arms up as though you're trying to reach something way, way up. Fingertips trying to get to the ceiling. And then breathing out, hinging from the hips and coming down towards the floor. Hands onto the floor. Breathing into it, lowering the head. Putting the hands between the feet. Tailbone up to the heavens. And just feel as though you're hanging from your tailbone down towards the floor, really letting go and hanging. Lovely. And then looking at the hands, place the left hand directly beneath you, centered between the feet, and the right hand comes up to the heavens and we look up. Okay? And just check that you're not allowing the pelvis to go too far behind you. No, I want kind of even weight through the feet, through the heel and the toes of the foot. And then breathing out, coming down. And then breathing in, the left hand going up and looking up if you can. And you've got choices. You can do bent right arm, so going down really low as you twist and look up, or you can do straight right arm and the left hand going up. Okay, breathing into that. Lovely. And again, just checking that your tailbone is actually more or less in line with your heels and is not swinging back behind you too much. And then breathing out, bringing both hands down, and the last bit of this wide angle forward bend. And release the shoulders, open out the shoulder blades. And then pushing the hands forward into that funny shaped table where the hands are quite wide forward, and just rocking slightly forward and back. So you'll feel that both in the shoulder joints a little and in the hips. Lovely, just rocking backwards and forwards. Super. And then heel toe, the feet a little bit more together so that we end up in a very soft forward bend. But the feet, they can be under the hips or they can be a bit wider. I just want to hang the spine really from the tailbone and tucking the chin in. So that nice long hanging the spine. Dropping the crown of the head towards the floor. And then breathe in and sweep the arms up like wings outside, beside you. And then clasp the hands behind you, familiar clasp, and lift the arms up. Okay. So again, just note which shoulder's feeling a little bit iffy. They're both okay. Is one feeling a little bit tight or objecting? Do you need to adapt the pose a little? And don't worry about keeping the legs straight. Always have the knees soft and slightly bent, safer on the lower back. Okay, and then breathing out, drop the hands onto the lower back and slide the hands down the outside of the legs. Rub the calf at the back. Lovely, and then rub the backs of the thighs. Okay, and then encourage the knees to feel a bit soothed if they were feeling overstretched. Okay, you don't feel that you're just working them too hard without any kindness. Right, and then come down to, if you can, coming down to cross-legged seated, because I want to do a twist from cross-legged. So remember, if cross-legged is not easy for you, you can go into the mermaid, or you can go into wide angle, or with the feet forward, or kneeling, or you can even sit on a chair, or sit on blocks. So whatever's easy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my left heel in to the perineum and take the right foot to the outside. Okay. Pausing there for a moment. And so we can call this the revolve chair. If you do it on a chair, you're sitting with the back of the chair here, and then you turn and hold onto the chair and you revolve round and look over the back, okay? Or you do it seated on the floor. So let's take the left hand over to the right knee, okay? Straighten up the spine, crown of the head going upwards, right hand coming round the back, pushing the fingers into the floor, and use that back hand, that right hand, to really lengthen and open the spine as much as possible. See if you can drop the shoulders though. Yeah. And then breathing in, lengthen up from the crown, chin slightly down, and breathing out, turning a little from about the pelvis upwards. Then breathing in again, lengthen from the crown, and breathing out, turning now more around the waist. And then breathing in, lengthening from the crown and turning more from around the rib cage. And keep doing that, breathing in from the crown and turning now more chest, collarbone, shoulder area. Breathing in, lengthen from the crown upwards. Breathing out, turning a little bit more, till you can get to a maximum turn for you. And your hands at the back can either be touching the block, if you're sitting on a block, or they can be in a fist, or there can be wide fingers and your fingers are tripods, just holding you in position. Whatever feels comfortable for you. Okay, and that left hand is still helping to twist the torso round. So we're wringing out the internal organs, really giving them a good squeeze. Okay, and stretch. Breathing into it. So again, not a pose I would particularly rush if you're more or less comfortably in it. And then breathing out, coming round to the front. Okay. So if you're on a chair, you just need to now face the other way on the chair. And I've got my right foot in front, so I'm just going to put my right foot on the inside now. Hold the sitting bones, sitting muscles back a bit. And take the right hand and go over to the left knee. Okay. Now, as you do that, you might find that you start leaning to the left a little. Try not to. Try to keep the spine upright. And then the left hand goes around the back. So again, it can find a position more or less in line with the tailbone and the spine, where it can work as a staff, really supporting that spine to keep upright from the floor. And then with the chin down, but not too far down, so that the neck vertebrae are just balanced on top of the spine, I'd like you to breathe in from the crown and breathing out, turn, look to the left. Breathe in from the crown, turn, continue turning, looking to the left. Breathe in from the crown. So you're gradually turning from the pelvis, waist, diaphragm, rib cage, chest, shoulders, neck, head, until you're at maximum turn. And then on each out breath, try a little tiny movement, a micro movement round more if you can. And the nice thing is, once you're in your maximum twist, you can sort of settle into it. Relax the shoulders, relax the face, just being there. Okay, breathing out, coming around. Releasing for a moment, letting go. You can close the eyes. And we have 2 more poses to do, which are may sound strenuous, and then we can relax again. So just pause and have a rest here before we do the last 2 in this immune system boosting sequence. Feel the shoulders relax. Maybe opening out around the heart center a bit. Shoulder blades coming a little bit together at the back. Let go around the jaw, forehead, eyes. Lovely. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the kind of low lunge, and it looks like this. So just before we go into it, I'll just kind of show you. It's with one knee bent, the other leg out, and all I want you to do is come down and do that. All right? So it's not too bad. It's easier than doing the triangle. And you can even do the extended low lunge too. Okay. Lovely. And again, hopefully with a nice open armpit area here. And if this is your left side, you've got the spleen area open, the descending colon nice and open, left kidney open. Okay. Technically, your right knee to hip is perpendicular. And that left foot is just comfortably resting wherever it feels right. Nice, nice poses. And then when you've had enough, just do an extra little bit of a stretch as though your left fingers were trying to reach your right hand. Extra stretch. Push the pelvis away from you on that left hip. Lovely. Breathing in, going up. Breathing out, bringing the foot in to upright kneeling. Little bit of back arch just to ensure we're going to be okay in the lower back. And then we swap sides, so right leg goes out. Down we go. And goes up. Look up if you wish. Okay, again, just checking that that left knee to left hip is perpendicular. And similarly with the arms, okay. And then if you wish, going into the extra stretch, those right hands over the head, right hand over the head down towards your left hand. And seeing if you can get as big a gap between your right hip and your right shoulder. Longest line that you've ever stretched open to. You could even slightly bring your left front hip forward a little just to check that you're in alignment. Breathing into that. Okay, and breathing in, going up, looking up, arm up. And then you can take the left hip back a bit as you bend that knee a bit more. And knees together, pause. If it's comfortable to pause kneeling, do. If it's more comfortable, upright kneeling or sitting, do. Just to pause for a moment. We've got this one pose left to do, which, yeah, I find kind of tricky. So let's see if we can do it. And it's chatarangasana. And basically, it's it's the plank pose, but coming down a bit lower. So bending the elbows tight in. So one way to do it and make it slightly easier is to bend the knees and go almost into a long rabbit, a long swan. Come through, keeping the elbows tucked in, and through into a swift chatarangasana and up into a lifted cobra. Then knees back, pause and go back. So you just get it even for a few seconds because it's really hard work on the wrists and the hands and the arms. Okay, so remember to keep the knees comfortable, a little bit apart, elbows, keep them tucked in as you come through, so not going out like wings, and then through as though the body's parallel to the ground, and then up into lifted cobra, knees to the ground, and back. This time you can put the forehead on the floor, rest the arms for a moment. This is hard work. We're only going to do one more of those. And there was no way I was going to make us do it at the beginning. I wanted to make sure Everything was as prepared as possible for this pose. Okay, hands on the floor, about hip width apart, keep those elbows in, don't let them splay out, and think of coming through torso parallel to the floor, and then up. Okay. So you might have been there for a second or 2 seconds, but that's fine. And then going back again to kneeling, but resting in Shavasana, the child pose, with the hands palms upwards by the ankles and opening out the shoulder blades, breathing into them. Lovely. Let it go for a moment, nothing to do. If there's too much pressure from your thighs to your chest, you can open the knees a little bit more. Make it nice and comfy. Space for the belly. And also, if you don't like the feeling on your forehead, you can put a little cushion there, a folded blanket. Just resting. And that will just soothe the areas around the kidneys, spleen, and back area. Just soothing them right down. And everything relaxing. Nothing to do. Let the shoulders drop towards the floor. Let the arms go completely. A pose of safety and security, soothing, calming, as all the forward bends are. Relaxing, really chilling out. Okay, and then bring the hands to either side of the head, push the head to come up, and that's our immune system whole sequence done. So now what I need is a really good relaxed Shavasana. So make sure you're going to be comfy. If you need to put a sweater on or socks on, do. If you need to get a nice blanket beneath you to lie down, please do. If you've got too bright a light shining down above, I recommend turning it off. If you've got an eye pillow, also I recommend using that. So making yourself comfortable. It's surprising how fast you will cool down. Okay, once you're in the corpse pose. So even if you feel warm now, I would recommend some kind of blanket. So check that you've got that blanket, eye pillows, socks on if you need it. Okay. And again, sorry, Again, if your lower back is feeling a little bit iffy, I would bend the knees, but only you can know, so try and work out what would be best for you. You might want a little pillow underneath your head, because that will keep the chin coming in towards the chest. Take glasses off if you have them. My pillow over the eyes, pressure on the right nadi points around the eye. And kind of tuck yourself in, make yourself as comfy as you can. You might want to start off actually with the knees bent. But can you just do the checks where your shoulder blades are opening but coming down towards the waist and the shoulders are away from the head. And then see how you can adjust the pose to be absolutely melting into the ground. As though you've become like a liquid melting away. And it's really where we stop doing and allow the being to be the main awareness, just being. Letting the body do what it needs to do, the subtle energy channels do what they need to do. The breathing continuing, the body being breathed. If your mind wanders off, finding notice, just coming back to the sensations in the body or the sensations of breathing. Present here, letting go. And you may feel the body quietening down and the breathing quietening down. So the wonderful thing about doing the corpse pose at the end is that you can completely let the body just go, sinking into the earth. And the mind wanders and we come back to either just scanning through the body, noticing, or being aware of body being breathed. Remember, you can always move in Shavasana if you're uncomfortable. It's not a pose to suffer. Always make sure your comfort is the priority, that you feel at ease. Just maybe see how you feel now compared to at the beginning of the class. Maybe a little bit more centered, sometimes a little bit more open emotionally, which might be a little bumpy, but that's also what yoga can do. And you won't necessarily be able to notice the changes we've made to the immune system, but that will continue to be absorbed by the body for the next 12 to 24 hours. So especially after this class, no sudden movements, no jolting into no running out to the nightclub basically, or running around the block at the speed of light. Just quiet time, settling it, allowing the body to absorb the benefit. So to come out of that pose, I just wriggle the fingers on the toes. And then bring the legs to parallel. Breathe in, raise the arms up to the ceiling or behind you, whichever feels most comfortable at this stage. And then when you've stretched a little, still wriggling fingers and toes, then comfortably bend the knees and roll over onto one side and use your arms to push and come up. So hopefully that was a fairly comfortable sequence, and we'll do more work on the immune system next session. Thank you.